I'm recording this on St. Pat's Day, so top of the morning to you. Truth in Advertising. I'm recording this for two different classes that have slightly different selections from the Tale of Genji in the book. So that's why you get some out of the way references a little bit. Tale of Genji is often considered the first novel in the world. Think about what a novel is as opposed to, say, an epic poem or a short story. In the World Lit book, I'm asking you to read two chapters, Chapter 1 and Chapter 5. In non-Western culture, you have an excerpt from Chapter 5. The setting for Tale of Genji is medieval Japan, and it's a story about the aristocracy, the nobility. Genji is a son of the emperor. He's not going to be the next emperor, but he is a prince. And all of the characters are very wealthy, upper-class people who don't have to work. So they have a lot of free time to kill. And that does a couple things. First of all, it's a very artsy-fartsy, fashionable society. Everybody plays musical instruments. Everybody composes poetry. In fact, that's how they communicate their feelings to each other. Everybody does calligraphy. And it's very important to always look your best in that kind of a society. Secondly, because they don't have much to do, they're all troubled with a kind of ennui, a kind of boredom, been there, done that, seen it all. And so Genji in particular always likes anything that's out of the ordinary, just because it's different. In Chapter 1, you get the story of his early life. His mother is one of the emperor's concubines, and because she is of lower status than the others, they mistreat her to the point where when he's only 3 years old, she gets sick and dies. And he is married very, very young. It's an arranged marriage. His father-in-law is the deputy prime minister, minister of the left. Because Genji's mother was the emperor's favorite concubine, when she dies, he is heartbroken, he grieves, and finally the members of his court decide the only way to kind of bring him out of this is to find another woman who looks like Kiritsubo, Genji's mother. And by the way, in the optional student aids, I've got a file called Genji Pics that will show you the different flowers that the women in the story are named after, and also some of the musical instruments that are referred to. Well, they find that woman, a woman named Fujitsubo, and everybody talks about how much she looks like Genji's mother. Well, as you might imagine, Genji growing up without a mother, and shortly after his mother dies, his grandmother also dies. So he really has nobody looking after him the way that mom usually does. And so he kind of adopts Fujitsubo as a surrogate mom because everybody's talking about how much like his mother she is. And when he's a young boy, that's okay because children are asexual. They're innocent. But he has this kind of unhealthy fascination with her. In his mind, she is the ideal woman. Now, in Chapter 5, which both of you are reading, Genji takes ill and he goes on a trip out to a healer who works magic spells and herbal medicine. And always in the Tale of Genji, pay attention to the scenery, because the scenery reflects characters' moods. While he's there, he observes through a window this Buddhist nun. It was not unusual in medieval Japan for upper class people late in life to become a monk or a nun in order to atone for the sins of their earlier life. And she's doing that, but there's something wrong with her, and pick up on what seems to be wrong with her. And also a little girl who catches Genji's eye. And as I said, these people communicate feelings by composing poetry. In the World Lit book, the first poem that I'm going to talk about, just to give you an example of how to read these poems, is on page 1277. In the Non-Western Culture book, it's on page 65. The translation in the World Lit book reads, "The evanescent dewdrop tarries, reluctant to disappear into the sky and abandon the tender shoot of grass to its uncertain fate." In the Non-Western Culture book, it reads, "Not knowing if any will come to nurture the tender leaf whereon it lies, how loath is the dewdrop to vanish in the sunny air." Now, what is she saying with that poem? Well, it's based on a natural phenomena. Shinto, the native Japanese religion, is a reverence for nature. And often in the morning, dewdrops will form on leaves and blades of grass. But as the day warms up, they evaporate, they disappear. That's what evanescent means. It's something that doesn't last long. And so she compares herself to the dewdrop that is reluctant, loath to evaporate, to die, because she's very ill with what, from the description, sounds to me like it might be some form of cancer. She hates to go because she is worried about what's going to happen to this little girl whom she compares to the tender leaf or shoot of grass. Blades of grass are the leaves of the grass plant. And so she's expressing that reluctance in this poem. In Shinto, in the code of Bushido, you don't express strong emotions. You don't show your emotions. And so they kind of hint at their feelings with these poems. So pay special attention to those poems because they communicate what the characters are feeling. And you'll need to follow the relationship between the nun and this little girl, and also the relationship between Genji and this little girl, because that's really what this chapter from Tale of Genji is about. It's in fact named after that little girl, Murasaki, which is the Japanese word for a purple flower from which purple dye is made. Watch how that relationship develops. Genji has a unique plan. And pay attention to why he's attracted to this little girl and what his plan is and how he goes about accomplishing that plan.